Hello everybody, Jose Rodriguez back again. This is going to be the first video in a short series that I plan to do in the next couple of weeks, and it pertains to scanning negatives on your, say for instance, an EPSON Perfection V, whatever model you happen to have. I have a 500, and my problem was that I had lost the little frames for the negatives, in this case negatives, although they will also hold 2x2 slides. Let me show you what that looks like right here. And in order for you to be able to scan film or anything that is transparent, you have to have a scanner that will allow you to do that, and that's part of the settings. Anyway, you load your negatives onto this little frame, and then you align the little tab. It says A, so apparently there's A, B, and C. You align it onto the scanner bed. That's it. And you close it. So what you will get is something similar to this. Okay, now here are some images that I scanned. Not images. Images of negatives that I was able to pull. And the reason for that, because I recently did a bit of a cleaning of my area here, and I found a big book of negatives, basically negative album that I have had saving and adding to it in my years and years of shooting. With what? With something extremely simple. Let me share that with you. This is my original Exacta. Exacta was made in Dresden, Germany. Ihagi was the company. They were pioneers in the field of 35mm cameras. Leica, of course, was one of them as well. I don't think they were the first SLR available. I think the Russians had them beat with some other type of model of camera. But at any rate, this was the camera that was used by most scientists in a scientific type environment, because it had removable lenses, removable viewfinders, and many, many accessories. So it was being used a lot for photomicrography and that sort of thing. So anyway, I have a vast collection of these cameras. And if you're interested, I have a category called film photography where I show you all of these models, among many others as well. So let's go ahead and jump into the scanner and show you what this is all about. I'm going to attempt to scan. It takes quite a while, but I'm going to go ahead and scan some of these images that I just loaded. Basically, it's just a strip of negatives. But you know what? Before we begin, I got to show you what I just printed. Okay, so let me turn around and I'll show you what I did. So I did a black and white, a neutral black and white on Aurora Natural from Red River on the XP15000 over there, using black and white mode on the driver. And then I went ahead in Photoshop, added a tonality to it, just a slight tone, to be able to get a kind of a brownish look, because you know these look like, you know, vintage type photographs, so they kind of need that. And I use RGB mode then for that. Okay, so black and white mode and RGB mode. And this was done from a 35mm negative. Okay, and again, I just discovered the book that I had hidden for years, literally. And now, oh boy, am I going to be having fun for the next couple of weeks. Stay with me on that. Okay, I just finished also, before I printed those two, topping off my cartridges again. Now, if you have been keeping tabs of what I have been doing with the XP15000, you know that I've been printing quite a bit, and I've been showing you some images that I, you know, print on the live stream. So you know that I haven't been just watching it. I have actually been using it. And I weighed each one of the 6 cartridges as I was going to refill them. It took me about 3.5 minutes to do the whole job. Basically, they only needed about 2.5 to 3 ml of ink each. Imagine that. It's amazing how little ink this machine uses to produce amazing results just like the ones you saw. Now keep in mind, I shot this with a 50mm 2.8 Tessar lens. It had a screw adjustable focus, very, very ancient by comparison of today's cameras. But anyway, that's all I had back in the 80s. So that's all I used. And I was able to shoot beyond, my dreams. And while I was in Europe, that's where I shot that. That was in Paris, by the way. And so, again, I'm going to have a lot of fun. Let's go ahead and open up the scanner. And I'll take you through a sort of a dry run. Again, we already have images loaded. So the first thing that you will do is you're going to want to use it at professional mode. None of these other ones will suffice. You guys are professionals. Choose professional mode. You're going to choose film because, of course, we're not going to be scanning an opaque document in this case. And in this case, it's black and white negative film. It's going to do an immediate conversion from negative to positive. And I'm choosing 24-bit color, and I'm scanning at 6400 ppi. See that? They're using the wrong terminology, folks. It is not DPI, it is PPI. And again, that's just something that really bothers me a lot. You could go as high as 12,800 ppi. I'm going to keep it reasonable at 6400. That will give me a very large image, pixel-wise. We're going to go ahead and leave everything pretty much alone. But here's a little thing that really works quite well, and that's digital eyes technology. And that removes any kind of dust, hair, particles, even little particles of stuff that may have stuck to the negatives when they were being dried or being developed for that matter. Remember, you had a piece of wet film and you dried it by either hanging it in a room with a little bit of ventilation or in a machine, basically, that provided warm ventilated air. We're going to use the unsharp mask, and that is about it. We're going to go ahead and hit the preview. I have found out that the digital eyes technology really does work quite well. Now this is going to automatically crop everything out of those images, hopefully. All right, so let's move ahead with this, and we'll go ahead and move this out of the way. And you can see that these are the 4 images in the strip of negatives. Let's just go ahead and use that one. So we'll select it and we'll hit scan. This is going to then provide us with a scan of that single negative image. Now I could rotate them as I please, get them all in the correct orientation here. We'll select that one, orient it up, select this one, and orient it correctly. Okay, so I think this is what, oh, wait a minute. You know who that is? Shame on me. This is Nathan's mom when she was like in the 4th grade. So we're going to go ahead, definitely going to scan that one. Maybe we'll also scan this one here as well. And so we'll leave the rest. Maybe this one, I don't know which one is a better. Yeah, this one here. So we will do 2. Again, like I said, this is going to take a while. So as you can see, it's going to ask me for my destination folder. We're going to send it to that one folder that I showed you earlier, right here. Scan from Paris, 35mm negatives. We'll go ahead and choose OK. We're saving it to a TIFF. So that's going to take a while to produce, especially at 24-bit color. Then I'm going to give you a very quick look on Photoshop, see what these images actually look like. Okay, so we'll be right back as soon as this is done scanning. And again, it's going to take a good 12 minutes. All right, it's about to finish scanning. In a few seconds, it will appear here. And then we'll be able to load it onto Photoshop and do some minor editing and get it ready for print. And there it is. All right. See you inside Photoshop. And here are the images that I just got done scanning and editing. We're going to go ahead and open one of the new ones, especially the one of my daughter. Why not? We'll open that one up. It's going to ask me whether I want to use the embedded profile instead of the working space. Well, I saved this at TIFF highest level, so we're going to keep that untampered. And there she is. That is my Judy when she was a school kid. We were on I believe it was a Girl Scout trip to Paris. So imagine that, huh? All right, we're going to go ahead and crop a little bit off of this image because really I don't want to see that cigarette butt or whatever that is right there. So we're going to hold our shift key and bring in that corner. That will keep the proportions the same. It'll be still 2:3 ratio. I want to go ahead and tilt it a little bit, rotate it a tiny little bit, maybe like that. That way, you know, she is not leaning. There we go. And that's actually quite reasonable. It almost looks ready for printing. Let me go ahead and dodge. In the darkroom, I would be dodging and burning in areas. And remember, you would be looking at a projected negative image. So I have clicked on this icon, the dodge and burn icon. We're going to use burn. Basically, you used your hand to do that as you were exposing the image onto the photographic paper. We're going to burn in the midtones. So I have the midtones picked and a very low amount. I'm going to just make it like 10%. And by using my bracket key, I can enlarge or shrink my brush. And I'm going to hit that corner because it seems to be a little bit burnt out. So I'm going to hit that corner, bring it down a little bit. And again, this would be exactly what I would be doing, including Ansel Adams. He did this on every image that he printed. Everything was burned. It was super manipulated, actually. So here's what we want to do. We want to bring attention to the pretty girl in the middle here. So I'm going to go ahead and apply a little bit of burning into the corners, sort of like a vignette. And there's a dog right there. We're going to keep him in there. Why not? Maybe hit this corner a little bit. That will draw the eye to my daughter, like so. And we're going to lighten her little face using the dodge tool. I'm going to shrink that down. And I'm going to use my wheel to bring the image up to a brighter condition here. And there, I'm going to lighten her up a little bit. Then I'm going to use shadows and burn tool. And that will only affect the dark region of the image. That's it. You can see the grain. See, we exceeded the resolution of the grain, in other words. So we were able to reproduce the grain. Now, you may notice that you see like some sort of like color. Okay, and again, this is Tri-X film. 400 ASA, it was actually pushed to 800, so you get that nice gritty look. I used to love that back in the day. We're going to go to image adjustment and turn this into a black and white. Not a grayscale, but a black and white. And there, all of that slight bit of color is now gone, because even though you're scanning a negative, you might end up with a bit of color. Now we're going to use the magic brush here, or Band-Aid tool, basically. We're going to remove that little spot right there. You see that? Magical, isn't it? It was just something that the dust removal could not remove. It's a little bit of maybe a little pimple or mole or whatever. And here's a little bit of junk we need to remove right there. Click and it's gone. Click and it's gone. And it retains the grain pattern that the image originally had. This is the beauty of printing from your negatives. And again, it might be dirt on her little raincoat. It was a rainy day, as it always seems to be in that region of the world. All right, so I think that's about it. As you can see, we got a nice rendition of that scan. Let me make sure I don't have any. Oh, see that right there? We're going to zap that right out. Boom. And that as well. And get rid of it without affecting the edges. Boom. Gone. We cleaned it up. Everything is nice. Looks very nice and even. And I think we can go ahead and set this up for printing. But that's going to be on another video, folks. So we'll see you the next time. Here's another one right here. I'll just sit here for a few more minutes and clean this up. And I hope you enjoy this. We're going to really have a great deal of fun doing this. I'm going to be doing a lot of this type of work on different papers as well as different printers. And we'll see what we can get. We'll see what we can achieve. Let's look at our histogram before we go. I see there's a little bit of a gap right here. So it's not quite filling the whole range of tonalities. So we're going to go to levels. And yeah, I can see why right there. So we're going to take care of that. So now we have a complete histogram. Let me bring this down right about like that. This will bring any kind of specular highlights below pure white. In other words, below the actual just paper base itself. All right, so we're going to export this over to Qimage, and we'll go ahead and print it. So we'll see you in the next video. So as you can see, pretty easy. Again, you can use a higher PPI or lower PPI. Figure out what you want to do with these kind of images. You're going to need at least 300 pixels per inch, okay, to be able to print a image that will look correct on paper. In other words, it will look detailed enough. And we're trying to actually scan the film grain, the microscopic film grain. So we have to use a high enough PPI to be able to surpass that point where now we can actually capture by scanning the actual film grains, which is my goal. I want to be able to produce images that have that telltale film grain that we used to love back in the day. All right, we'll hit this again. When we come back next video, we're going to go directly into Qimage and we'll take care of this. I'll show you all the little adjustments that you can make within that application, and then we'll go ahead and print it on our XP15000 if that's what we choose to do, or maybe the Pro-1000, or maybe one of the other printers that we have. All right, thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and like. This is going to be a blast. See you the next time. Bye-bye, everybody.